I am so excited for our guest today on That Starts With You podcast. I've known Katie for a while now. Katie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Julie. I'm really excited to be here with you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I always have to get us to hit record whenever I have a guest because wait, I want to catch up. I want to know how you are. What are we all going to talk about? And I was like, wait, we got to capture all this on the podcast. So Katie and I have known each other for years now. She's a former client, and I just love you so much of all the things you do, all of the work that we were able to do together, and I love to see you keep winning. So really excited for our conversation today. We're going to talk about a few things, but one of the key things that Katie and I were just talking about before we hit record is this idea of imposter syndrome, confidence, really owning and using your voice in a room, especially for those of you who are women. I want you to listen up when you are in rooms where you are doubting yourself. Maybe you're in an industry or a room that is predominantly a male industry, or in that room and you might question yourself. Stay tuned because we're going to be talking about that. And I know I talk to a lot of women leaders who experience this. So Katie Bolen-Irwin is a financial powerhouse who juggles numbers by day and Nerf battles by night. I just love that. Fellow Nerf battle by night mom here. As CEO of KBI Accounting and Consulting and Chief Financial Officer at the Graduate School of Banking at UW-Madison, she brings clarity, strategy, and a sense of humor to balance sheets and boardrooms alike. Certified as both a CPA and CNAP, I love this part, which basically means she speaks fluent finance and nonprofit and corporate dialects. Katie is passionate about helping mission-driven organizations stay fiscally fit without losing their soul or their sanity. Outside the office, Katie has been married for over 20 years to her partner in crime and chaos coordinator. She's the proud and often outnumbered mom of 3 boys, which it's a lot of boy energy, an 11-year-old future video game champion, and a pair of energetic 6-year-old twins who think bedtime is just a suggestion. My 8-year-old is the same way, Katie. And 1 dog, 2 cats, and a volleyball obsession into the mix, and you've got a life that's equal parts strategy and sitcom. When she's not wrangling numbers or small humans, you'll find her reading anything with a plot twist and pretending it's totally normal to have Legos in her purse. If you need someone who can lead a finance team, coach a kid's sports team, and still make it to a book club, Katie's your woman. I mean, I feel like we need a mic drop after that because it's amazing, and I'm tired just reading it too because
Yeah,
that's so much that you do.
yeah. It makes my life tired.
Yeah, right? Oh my goodness. So, Katie, first of all, absolutely love the intro. I feel like it gives so much personality to you. But I would love first if you just start with, okay, you're busy. And you've always had so much going on. So, I think before we even dive into the confidence, one of my questions for you, because I think when people hear that, it's like, wow, how does she do it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
could you just share a little bit for those who are listening who are like, that's so much, I have so much going on. Like, how do you juggle all of that? How do you do it all?
You have to really just find time to breathe. I get overwhelmed a lot in moments thinking of my laundry, long to-do list. And when I take a few moments to just breathe and remind myself that it all works out, give yourself some grace, and make sure that you're communicating with those that you might have a commitment to, right? So whether that's a client, a spouse, a child, just really ensuring, hey, where are we at on the same page for the schedule that's coming up? Does anything need to be covered? Is there any way to allow for some flexibility and timelines of things if something isn't going quite right in the moment? And it's really helped me over the last year. I've taken on a few more clients, taken on some more work. The kids are getting busier with sports. And so just really remembering to breathe and take a moment to say, it'll work out. We just have to focus on one thing at a time and not get overwhelmed in the whole future looking list that needs to get done.
That's such a good point because I feel like it's so easy for us who are either run businesses or who work in organizations and have kids and have other things, or all at the same time, to constantly be thinking of the next thing
Yeah.
versus really being present. I think that was one of the first things, like just being present where you are.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
the other thing that you mentioned that I really want us to dive into is this, because you mentioned, you have to communicate. So communicate to who you have commitments to. I literally jotted that down how you said it. Communicate to who you have commitments to. So I'm curious, is that something that you've always had, or how have you built that? I was like that muscle of being able to maybe tell people like, hey, I can't do that right now because I have this other commitment, or being able to use your voice in that way to say, hey, wait a minute, like we have all these priorities. Which one is the priority?
Yeah, it is not a strength that I've had throughout my career or lifetime. But what I found is that working independently and trying to take it all on has really, impacted my quality of life over time. And so trying to find different ways to incorporate all of the stakeholders in my life and people who are important to me and things that need to get done really actually allows them to take on more responsibility and accountability. So when I think of like my children, have you prepared your bag for soccer? We've got soccer practice tonight, right? So where is their accountability in the things that they need to do that I don't need to be doing all of these things for them? And then communicating, with my husband, hey, there's a load of laundry over there that needs to get done. Normally I'm the one to do it. However, I need your help this week. So I'm gonna need to play on that. And with my clients that I support, it's really just making sure that we're on the same page of the deadlines that need to get done and when there might be some adjustments there. So it's something I have to remind myself constantly. I don't have to do it all. It's a really good tool to use to hold other people accountable to the things that are shared responsibilities. And it gives lots of other people autonomy within their own workspace and their own jobs. So I think of children, and helps them to grow and learn and develop their skill sets as well.
And that's such a good, I mean, if you could give me a tip on how to get your kids to get their soccer bag ready, because that
will say when they show up with things that they need that they don't have, they start to pay attention a little bit more.
That's such, and like I kind of said that like jokingly, but actually that's such a good, that's something I'm learning right now. That's why I love doing this podcast, because that's something that I have a hard time. It's actually something my husband will say. He's like, well, if he doesn't have what he needs, he'll learn. I'm like, well, no, I don't want him to not be prepared. But we can use this in our personal and professional lives, right? Like if you lead a team, like if sometimes people need to learn, that's a hard thing to let go of. Like I don't want him to not have what he needs.
I mean, think of all the times in our lives where we've learned the most, and it's coming from a place of a shortcoming, maybe. I don't want to say failure, because it's not a failure, right? You had a shortcoming, maybe there was a mistake, a missed opportunity, and those are the really impactful times where you learn the most. And if I want to raise independent people who are not going to rely on me for the rest of their lives, I need to do that for my children. And in the workspace, I can't do all of the work. So making sure that they're trained and equipped, they have to take that accountability on moving forward.
Oh, gosh, I feel like I'm like, oh, yes. I'm sitting here like
all
I'm
the
having
different ways you can pepper it in.
I didn't know that this is what I was going to learn today already from you, Katie, but this is such a good reminder. I mean, for me, like literally aha moments, but for anybody listening too, because it is that by trying to keep, and again, I'm thinking of my son, but we can think of this in the workplace too. Like if we're trying to prevent someone from failing so much, then we're actually doing them a disservice. Especially like you said, like if I'm trying to raise independent people who can go contribute and be independent in the world, like we have. And I think there's just like this more and more, I think, over the years in different generations of like trying to protect from having to experience bad things, and actually that's really not helping.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely
fine.
want to protect in some cases.
We have soccer and baseball tonight, the day we're recording this. So, Sawyer, you're on your own.
Yep.
This is such a good reminder though. But going back to the idea of, thank you for being open to say, hey, I wasn't always this way. I know because I work with a lot of leaders at different levels in different organizations, there is this fear around like if I speak up and say, hey, I have all these things on my plate, like which one's more of a priority? Or if I try and delegate, there's almost this like, oh, I feel bad, or they're going to think I'm not qualified or capable of handling this. And so, I would say especially women more so tend to do this. So what did you do to be able to start to overcome that though, to say, hey, this is on you, like I need your help here, or hey, I can't do that right now, and be able to not feel guilty about it?
I think one of the things that has been really helpful is just to remember that we all have the same amount of time in a day. No one has more or less. We have 24 hours to do with however we need to do with it, right? So I want to get a good night's sleep because I know if I get a good night's sleep, I'm at my best performance for everybody else as well as myself. So, making sure I'm committing that time to sleep. And then when I have these conversations of, well, I have 4 hours to get this done. I'm not going to suffer in other areas of my life in order to meet this when I know that asking for help is a possibility. And again, the way that help gets me gives other key players a chance to play in that space, right? So if I'm trying to get something done quickly for a client that might include the marketing person, I can say, hey, marketing person, I would really love your input here. I would really love your help to support this. And how could we work together to develop something? Again, it's been a really long time to not see it as a shortcoming of my own. But the more that we bring people in, the more that they learn from other people and their tendencies, and we protect our own space. Right?
Yeah,
I don't see it as a shortcoming anymore.
That's so amazing.
I only have 24 hours. You only have 24 hours. How are we going to get this done?
This is just so great to hear too, just to like see, I mean, as somebody who worked with you years ago, like to just see the growth in some of the areas and just see this reframe, right? And so that's such a, for those of you listening who struggle with this, 'cause I know we all do at different points. I think at no point are we ever totally through those feelings, but I think we get better at managing them, and you can kind of, take a breath and check with yourself and say, hey, how else can I look at this? And so I love that reframe that you just provided, is it's instead of feeling guilty or I feel bad, I feel like I'm pushing it on them. Instead, you've reframed it to like, wow, I'm actually giving them an opportunity to step up, or I'm giving them an opportunity to offer ideas or to kind of take the spotlight on this project because I have these other things. So that's a really good reframe to help change our own energy and our own thought process around it, and usually get a better result from all of the areas because we're not trying to do it all ourselves.
Yeah. I can't be everything to everyone at every moment. So there has to be a really good time to bring in other people.
Yeah, and really seeing that as an opportunity for everybody.
Yeah.
When do you, so using your voice this makes me think, using your voice to be able to delegate, to be able to say, hey, I can't do everything. Where else have you in your career struggled with maybe speaking up or, maybe having influence over others?
Yeah, so again, when I was much younger in my career, just really having the confidence and the voice to speak up in a meeting or even in an email to someone to give an opinion was scary, right? Like, they may not agree with me. They may think this is a dumb idea. They may not want to give me additional work that I'm really interested in because of it. And so what I've learned over time is that more voices in the room are better, and not everybody is going to agree on every single thing no matter what. And so I just left a strategic board meeting. It was great. There was a lot of discussion. And the things that were really helpful for me were to make sure that I came in well prepared. I came in with a lot of resources at hand. I came in with opinions and ideas that were well thought out in advance. I made sure that I was anticipating any other needs within the meeting, so that way we could make sure that we had a productive meeting, and that those anticipatory needs also centered around some of the opinions that I might have, right? So if I have data to back up some of that opinion, I can really speak to it a little bit more and feel more confident in my voice in the meeting.
Oh, I love those tangible tips. So it's like you said, being well prepared, having the resources and things available, which goes along with anticipating, right? If we can anticipate some of the questions that someone's going to ask, we have those things, and then having your own opinion on things. And I think that's one area that I see with, if I'm working one-on-one with clients, or if I'm working with a group of leaders and we're working on our presence and our influence, that's something that I really see people struggle with, is if they don't feel like they have the answers, or if they struggle with speaking on the spot, they just don't speak up at all. And then what happens is we're not seen as that thought partner, as that level leader that people can go to for their ideas, because you're not saying anything at all.
Yeah, yeah. I was really, I always have to reframe it, because I think that this sometimes is a woman concern, because I see it more often in that gender. But in the meeting room that I was in, no man hesitated to say his opinion. And I just have to remind myself that it's not, if they don't like my opinion, it's not personal. It's not that they don't like me. It's not that I'm not smart. It's not that I'm not talented in my skill sets. It's that they have a differing opinion, right? So whether that, think of it like your spouse. They have a differing opinion. It's not that they don't like you. They've chosen you as a spouse. Mm-hmm. They just have a differing opinion, and it's okay to have differences of opinion. That's when we really come together and make things happen within organizations. If we all had the same ideas, everybody, would be all the same. It would be great. So just trying to reframe the thought process when you're moving into something like that, to say they're not concerned. They don't take it personally if there's a disagreement or a differing of opinion. And really, how then might my opinion add value to the discussion and the conversation and the decisions moving forward?
Mm-hmm. And that's such a key point. I mean, a couple of things. First of all, I would say too, in my experience, of just not to say that, not all women and not all men, right? But when we look at, in general, when we look, even, the research and the data, and just in conversations I have when I'm coaching men versus women, definitely there is this sense that some men struggle with communicating clearly, or, it might be the way that you cater your message to an audience. However, I definitely see more of my women clients struggling to speak up, especially in some of the male dominated industries, where you might already feel like, oh, they're all this way. And we can do that in general, in anything, we can generalize, they're all this way, or they're all this way, and I'm not that way, right? And so you put your insert wherever situation you're in, of those of you who are listening, and then you really get in your head, because then it's like, well, okay, no, I don't know if I have value. So I love that, of you reminding yourself, like, hey, it's okay if they don't agree. However, I do have something to say. I do have value. And the other thing that I always remind my clients of when we're working on this is, you're in that room for a reason. You were invited into that room for a reason. They're looking for you to ask questions, to offer your opinion. And so when you're not doing it, that's actually more of the problem than speaking up and not having everyone agree with you.
Yeah, but being well prepared, I mean, I can't, if I was not well prepared, I would feel completely like restless, right? And so some of the things that came up in this meeting were, oh, what is the reason for doing this? And it was like, oh, here's all the support documentation for doing this. This is why my opinion is kind of the way it is and shaped the way it is. And so that it just really makes me feel much stronger and not mouse-like, even, being in the room. Even if I am willing to say my opinion, I'm strong in my voice, and I'm confident when I'm saying it, and that goes a really long way.
And I also think that's something that people underestimate, of going in, people say, hey, I struggle. Okay, I can come in totally prepared with my presentation or my pitch or whatever it is, but where I struggle is speaking on the spot, or if someone asks me a question or things like that. And it's like, we can't anticipate everything they're going to ask. But if you come in as prepared as you can, so that you can, field 90% of the questions that people have, and you're prepared with those things, and really taking that time, then if someone asks you a question that you don't know, well, then, again, kind of practice. And I guess, what do you say? Because there's something that I know I kind of coach my clients through, but you come in prepared, you've got everything, but then someone throws like something totally out of left field. What do you do?
Yeah, I say I don't know. I don't know everything, right? There are lots of things that I don't know, that I may not have anticipated, that I may not have looked at in that light. And it's nice to be able to say, I recognize that that's a really good question that I haven't thought of. Thank you, let me get back to you. I'll think about it, or I'll look into it. And so being okay with not knowing everything is also kind of going back to that, how do we bring in others? How do we give them accountability, right? There may be things that I don't bring with me because that's not my area of expertise, and that's okay, but somebody else might know it, and being comfortable with that.
Yeah, and I think that just that we can overcomplicate it, where it's like, well, what if I don't know? You say, hey, I don't know, that's such a good question. Let me get back to you. Or phone a friend. Some, if you happen to have a team member in the room who's the expert in the thing. I think sometimes we think we have to have all the answers, but you can say, either let me get back to you, or actually,
Yeah.
so and so.
I think if I'm going to look at someone and they're going to ask me a question that I didn't anticipate, and I go, oh my gosh, that's a really good question. Man, how good does it feel when you ask a question in the meeting and they turn to you and go, I'm not really sure. That's a really great question. I hadn't thought about it that way. I'll get back to you, right? So it's a two-way street when you can come in prepared with that voice and feeling confident in your own opinions and questions. You're going to turn somebody else the same way, and they're, that just know that they've been in your spot, or they're in your spot maybe in the same time frame. And that's okay. Everybody's kind of moving at their own pace in their own area of expertise.
Mm-hmm. And what has changed for you? Like, as you're talking about this, I'm like, there's just I heard you talking about personal life, but professional life. Just what has changed for you, Katie, since since you've really started to feel more confident in owning and using your voice? How have things changed for you just in your life?
I am a worry person. I constantly worry. Am I dressed okay? Do I look okay? What are they going to think of me? What's going to happen? I play out all the scenarios in my head. And the thing that's probably happened over the last year to 2 years has reflecting on my life and going, everything's kind of worked out. Nothing has been so catastrophic that it completely ruined my career and I can't do what I love doing every day. Nothing has been so drastic and hard that I haven't been able to overcome it in the moment. So being able to use that for future thinking has kind of quieted that worry voice, right? Like it's really said, hey, you can worry about it, you can run through every scenario, you can think about every situation, but it's kind of all worked out. So just let it work out. Let it play out how it's going to play out. Don't be so worried about the small things, the itty-bitty details, because everybody else is moving at the same pace probably in life that you are, and they're barely paying attention to some of the things, right? So don't worry about the small, minute details. Don't, overthink the big meeting that's coming up. It'll all work out. It'll work out. Nothing is so crazy if you're well prepared, you're anticipatory, you're feeling confident in your opinions and your voice. Everything will work out.
I feel so much peace when you say that. Like, I think that's the word that came up for me. It's just like this sense when just hearing you say it, and you said it so calmly too, but also if you just were to say that to yourself, like that's such a good reminder. Put it in perspective. Like sometimes we're in a situation and we just blow it up to be this huge thing and sometimes freak ourselves out. But if you really look, it's to be able to say like everything's kind of worked out. Like it's gonna be okay. It just helps to bring more peace and presence to where you are.
Yeah, even in those really struggling times, you're like, this is not going to be good. This is going to be the worst. I'm never going to recover from this. And then 6 months later, you're like, oh yeah, I recovered. And maybe it's better. Maybe things have actually improved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that point of, like everyone else is busy dealing with all their own stuff that they're probably not paying attention to the thing that feels so big to you that to them it's like, what?
Yeah.
That's such a good point. What would you, because I feel like this is on track with what we're talking about, like what would you, if you could go back, and how cool would it be if we could go back to our, selves when we were in that really like self-doubt place, but like what would you go back and tell your younger self about having confidence in yourself?
It's a good question because I think I've gotten to where I am because of the life experiences I've had. I've gotten to where I am because I've struggled through some things. And time just changes your perspective, right? It can really have an impact. I don't care as much about minuscule judgments as I did in my 20s, that can really eat up a lot of brain space and worry. But I think to just remind myself that if you know who you are, what you're good at, what you love, and you're prepared to tackle things, you're going to do really well. Don't worry about all the rest of it.
I really wish I could tell my younger self not to worry.
It'll work out. It always does. And you just have to take time to get there, right? And not be, don't try to rush through the hard moments. They come back to, help you understand and have some perspective and help you really improve upon yourself if you're really self-reflective, right? So, Julie, when you and I worked together, it was a lot about boundaries and a lot about, managing others and making sure that they are responsible for themselves. And so being able to look back and have those experiences and say, I struggled at points in my time. I found resources that were helpful to help me grow. I was self-reflective and being able to take some feedback and work on myself so that I could improve has really led me to the point in my life where I'm really happy with everything that's happening. There are struggles day in, day out, but man, I've really moved forward in my career. I've moved forward in my life, and that feels really good.
Yeah, and I love even just the perspective that you shared of like, we want to, like, how cool it would be to go back and tell yourself something, but you have such a good point of like, if we hadn't gone through all that stuff, we wouldn't be to where we are now. And I truly believe that too. It's like all of that stuff that happened literally gets you to the point of where you are, all the good and the bad. And if you didn't experience that, you wouldn't be where you are. Like you said before, their kids, like we need to experience the stuff that, I always say, like, when life is lifing and you feel like it's just like, oh my gosh, it keeps coming. Like, you need to go through those things in order to have, the wisdom that we get as we get older and we have all of that stuff that happens.
Yeah.
And just that idea of not rushing through those hard moments. I think that's a really good thing for people listening too, of like, if you're in a hard moment, whether personally or professionally, that we can't wait to get on the other side. However, like, what lessons can you be learning? I just was hearing someone speak about this, like, what lessons can you be learning in that season instead of missing them? Just like you said, like all the things you were working on, it's like we needed to work on those things and we needed to have those lessons to now get to where you are now, where it's like, okay, I don't worry as much about some of that smaller stuff.
Yeah. The opportunity to take the time to see what opportunity might lie in that situation. My friend always reminds me, I had a horrible situation going on. A nonprofit was closing. It was really struggling and it was difficult. And she said, but you could just break ties and move forward. And I said, but what a great opportunity. I may never get this opportunity to sit in this space again. And it's really hard and it's taxing and frustrating. But I'm going to learn a lot from it. I'm going to take a lot with me and move forward. And then I have that in my back pocket whenever I might need it. And it's really hard in the moment when you're struggling. But what's the opportunity? How can I learn? How can I grow? And take that with me going forward? Because one of the things I think I've seen in my career is, when you're starting out, you don't know all your skill sets. You don't know what's really going to be the thing that you're doing in 20 years or maybe 40 years, right? And so if I'm able to just take these little nuggets with me along the way, you never know when they might grow into something bigger, or they're just really useful in those moments in the future, right? So just trying to take those little learning opportunities with you as you go could lead you to so many different paths.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. Like, you don't know where it's going. I just had this like vision when you were saying these little nuggets of us, like, as we go through life on this path, like picking up these little like acorns or something, like put them in our pocket. Like, oh, I don't know, I might need this later. Like this little nugget of wisdom or this little lesson. And then it's like later on, it just makes me think when you said in your bio about the Legos, my son likes to collect rocks and stones. So I have them like in my pockets and in my purses, in my bags. And I just instantly had this like metaphor of like those being like little life lessons.
Yep. Yeah, and they help sometimes, right? You reflect on that and you go, oh, yeah, I did that way then, but I took it with me, and I learned that I could do it in a better way. I could respond in a better way. I could be proactive in a different way, so those little obstacles are really good to take with you, and they're learning opportunities.
Oh, so good. Okay, a couple of final wrap-up questions, especially because, you mentioned obviously you're in the nonprofit space. And so I just want you to, share with us, like, what is it that you love about working in the nonprofit space?
So the thing that I love the most is that they're all mission driven, right? They're serving a community of people, wherever that community is and what they need. And that just really drives a lot of passion behind the work that they do. Oftentimes, nonprofit personnel are not paid the highest because there's not a lot of funding always, right? We work on a lot of contributions and things. And so I love working with people who are mission driven and not necessarily about a bottom line. And I love bringing my expertise to help them because a lot of them have grown up with a mission orientation. And so when I look at my executive directors, business acumen may not be 100% of what they're really good at, and financials and understanding them and having some strategic planning and forecasting for their organizations. But that's where I get to partner with them in their space, which is really great. So they are usually very, very mission-driven people and do it because they love the work that they do every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and getting to support them and I can see how all of the things that you've learned and like just this, hey, it's all going to be okay, like just that demeanor and that presence and that opportunity can really ripple into your clients too, because I would just imagine that there's a lot of like hair on fire moments where being able to come in with that perspective and just be like, hey, not my first rodeo, like we'll get through this. And the same thing in like business, like it will all mean something, like it will all turn into something.
Yep. It'll all work out.
It'll all work out.
As long as you prepare, you're good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Katie, this has been, I feel like the time goes so fast. This has been such a great conversation. So one last question I want to ask you is, the name of the podcast is It Starts With You. And I love to get people's, little description of what does It Starts With You mean to you?
It starts with me means that I'm able to make a contribution in any way, shape, or form that it is meaningful for me. And when I'm able to do that from a place of passion and inspiration, that others are likely to join. So if I know what I'm passionate about and what really gets me going, and I bring that to the table, man, a lot of people just fall right in line with you because they want to be part of that, right? So that's what Starts With You really means for me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. And I haven't heard people describe it that way. And I think it's just the word that came up for me when you were saying that is conviction. Like when you've got something that's really meaningful to you and you've got this like conviction around it and this like passion around it, people are drawn to want to be a part of that.
What I didn't say was it's all me, right? Like it starts with me. And then how does that group form around me? So kind of back to our earlier conversations of like just really building those networks and having people who you can rely on, who you can hold accountable, who you can trust, and you can ask for help as you need it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's such a good point. It's like surrounding yourself with people that are going to be there for you to build you up, to kick you in the pants when you need it, or like give you like words of, affirmation when you need it. But I love that too. There's like people around you to trust you. Katie, thank you so much for this conversation. It was so good to have this. For those of you listening, I hope that this was helpful, just hearing someone else's experiences and all of your little nuggets of wisdom that you shared with us around how you've grown, because I know this is an area that so many people want to get better at, is trusting themselves, their confidence, using their voice. And so this whole idea of saying it's going to be okay, like not sweating the small stuff, but also coming in prepared and having resources and believing in yourself and saying it's okay that you don't know, all of those things will really help you. So where can people find and connect with you, Katie?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm really happy to connect with people where they're at in their journeys along things and answer any questions, either from a financial world, from a toddler wrangling world, or anything else I can help with.
Amazing. And we'll make sure that we link that in the show notes as well. So Katie, thank you so much again for all of you listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember that it starts with you.